G'day guys, how's it going? I'm AZAWorldTV, this is AZAWorld Sport, and just when you thought the Europa League was going to be dull, boring, and not really have too much to really talk about compared to the Champions League, Week 1 threw some real spanners in the works and brought up some incredible talking points. One place to start, and that is that Manchester United have lost for the second time in a week, and it's Jose Mourinho's first two defeats that have come back to back. Now, he did make a number of changes from the Manchester derby, but that team that he put out was more than strong enough to beat Feyenoord. Now, I know Feyenoord have made a great start under Giovanni van Bronckhorst as a manager, who I'm really excited to see in football. I always liked him as a player, and I really hope that he can have a good managerial career moving forward. Now, they came into this game unbeaten since their version of the Community Shield in Holland, sitting top of the Eredivisie, and they seem pretty well organised, to be honest with you. The first half, to be honest, most of the game was fairly dull and boring. But at the end of the day, they're the ones that picked up the win. Man United did look more dominant in the second half, but they just didn't really seem to have a creative edge. I think Jose, you can see he's still trying to sort out some tactical issues because some of his front players just aren't working the way that they should be. And there are obviously some real issues there. So I think he's got some thinking to do about who he starts and the way in which he's going to build the team, particularly around players like Paul Pogba, because at the moment he seems to be a little bit of everywhere. There doesn't really seem to be anyone that can truly hold that United midfield at the moment. But then again, maybe that's because he hasn't played everyone yet. I mean, maybe at this time it would be good to bring someone like Michael Carrick in who can have a real calming influence over the rest of the team, who you know can hold that midfield well. Or at the same time, I'd actually like to see Morgan Schneiderlin be given more of a chance at Manchester United because, when he came to Old Trafford, he had the second best defensive midfielder record second best stats for a defensive midfielder in the Premier League, just behind Nemanja Matic, and that was in the year that Chelsea won the Premier League under Jose, and Matic was an absolute beast. So it's clear Schneiderlin's got the quality. I just think he needs a consistent run in the team at that position. So we'll wait and see. He could build up a good partnership with Pogba, considering they're both French and both playing the national team. But hey, that's just my opinion. But yeah, it just wasn't United's night. Got to say, a nightmare decision from the officials. I mean, Feyenoord's goal was clearly offside, and when you consider the liner was right next to the guy, it was a truly shocking decision. But at the end of the day, Feyenoord won, and congratulations to him. It's a great start for them. I don't think Jose's comments about the Europa League and how seriously he's going to take it are necessarily the best ones to put out there into a player's mind. It kind of gave the impression that obviously he doesn't really care too much about the Europa League. It's not the league that they want to be in, but he should see it as an opportunity. It's still a trophy. It's a trophy Man United have never won. And at the end of the day, hey, it's on the list of trophies you've never won. Why don't you just try and tick that off? And then next season, you can focus on the Champions League. Get it out of your mind for the time being, the Champions League. We know that obviously you're chasing for it in the Premier League, and Man United should probably get it this season. But for the time being, stop moaning at the fact you're not in the Champions League and just focus on the fact you're in the Europa League and the Premier League, and they're two competitions that you should focus on winning. But yeah, not a good week for Manchester United. It's going to be interesting to see how they respond against Watford at the weekend, whether or not they are going to have a hangover from these two defeats, or whether or not it's going to really shake up Jose and shake up Man United and see if they come out all guns blazing at the weekend. Because they have got plenty of goals in that team. There's just something not quite happening there at the moment. But it's only early in the season. It's a small blip. There's plenty more games to go on from here. So we'll just wait and see. I think it also helps the fact that Fenerbahce and Zoira drew in their group as well, so there's not really too much pressure on United after this defeat, to be honest with you. But it is disappointing when you consider the strength and depth that their squad have. They should be doing much better against teams like Feyenoord, and that is with no disrespect to Feyenoord, because you guys did put in a good performance, but the Dutch league compared to the Premier League is obviously a lot weaker, and player for player, you would look at that Manchester United team and assume that they would beat you guys. So that's just a bit of honesty. But the other great result for obviously the English teams in the Europa League was the fact Southampton won, and won convincingly. Their first win of the season. All right, they were helped with a penalty that definitely wasn't deliberate handball. How the officials gave that, I will never know. It was a shocking decision. Not a good week for officials in Europe. But hey, at the end of the day, got Southampton off the mark. Got Charlie Austin off the mark for the season, which is awesome. It's good to see Charlie Austin scoring. Good for England, because if he could get a bit of consistency in terms of goals, I think he could be in the England frame, because he killed it for QPR when he was in the Premier League. So hopefully he can do that for Southampton as well. But they dominated Sparta Prague. It was great to see them score a few goals because that's one thing that hasn't really happened for them in recent weeks. And hopefully this is where Southampton's season will really start now that they've got a good win under their belt and built some confidence. What also helps is the fact that there was a massive shock in their group as Hapoel Beer-Sheva beat Inter Milan 2-0 at the San Siro. The second goal, the free kick, was absolutely spectacular. Great goal. But man, it is depressing to think what has happened to the Milan teams in recent years, because they are the two biggest teams in Italy. They are global giants as football teams. It's just a shame that, the way they've fallen to where they are now. They're just mediocre Europa League or just scraping to get into the Europa League teams, when once upon a time they had some of the best players in the world and were competing in Champions League finals and semi-finals. So it is a real shame to see that that's where the Milan teams have fallen. But hopefully they can bounce back from it, because I'd like to see those two giants back on the forefront of world football at some point in the near future. But great for Southampton that was what the result was. So who knows? Maybe Southampton can get some wins over Inter as well. We'll just have to wait and see. But that pretty much sums up all of the main action from the Europa League in terms of an English perspective. Let me know what your main talking points were from the games, what you thought worked well for teams, what you thought didn't work well for teams, who you thought played well, and is there a problem at Man United? Is Jose maybe, the first 3 games maybe shielded something, or do you think that it is just a blip? Jose shouldn't really care about it and just focus more on the Premier League. Let me know in your comments below, and of course, I'm AZAWorldTV. I will see you guys again soon with more wildlife, adventure and sports videos, and please don't forget to subscribe to AZAWorldTV.